Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Table Rush Talk Show. Today I interview Molly Mandelberg, full-time nomad, six-figure business owner. Molly knows copy. She knows the copy of your niche. That's what I'll tell you. She can knock out the copy for your niche. She's got the systems in place to travel the country in her van and then run her six-figure business. And she wants to teach you how to have the same systems that she has. Molly's amazing. Every time I talk to her, I'm super inspired. I learn something super cool, and I also get a great spiritual nugget. Listen up, check out Molly Mandelberg, and of course, as always, you can watch these interviews at www.tablerushtalkshow.com, www.tablerushtalkshow.com. Enjoy this interview with Molly. Hello, Molly.
How are you?
I'm well today. Thank you. Molly Mandelberg, you are the founder of Wild Hearts Rise Up, creator of Magnetic Influencer Collective, and you're the writer and illustrator of the Wild Hearts Rise Up Oracle deck. You're the host of two podcasts, Tactical Magic podcast, which you just interviewed me on whatever the other day, which was amazing. You just held so much beautiful space and at these great times, you very eloquently recapped what I said, and I was very impressed with that. So thank you very much. And then you've got the Reveal the Game of Life podcast. Is that still in action?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So you are managing two podcasts. Is that what?
Full-fledged business in addition to that, yeah.
And a what?
And a business and a social life somehow too.
And a business and a social life. And which on here, we'll get to that. Well, I'll keep going because the best part's coming up, I think. After spending years mastering content creation and online marketing, and I'm going to interject here really quick. The few times I've got to interact with you, you clearly have the copy and the content creation side of things, very intuitive around that, very well experienced, very well. Like when we've been interacting and I've been, hedging or looking for words, you very quickly and eloquently help frame it in a very cool way. So anyone listening needs to know that about Molly. Gifted at it. Awesome. So, as I start creating funnels, there's a great chance Molly will be working on the copy.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. You never know, right? We get to pick our clients too, right? My guess is you're very good at picking your clients and being like, you don't fit. Have a good day. Molly finds her bliss in bridging the worlds of heart-centered healing and transformation with the practical business strategies of leveraging a message into a global movement. Your certified NLP coach, an Access Consciousness bars facilitator, and a transformational leadership coach and a full-time nomad. Molly works with coaches, healers, and conscious leaders to broadcast their messages with ease so they can reach more people and make more money with less time spent. Hence, you do not mess around. You live by the schedule. She travels the world full-time and runs her six-figure business out of her self-converted Sprinter van tiny home. Now, how fun is that? Molly loves helping her clients to systemize their work and master the magnetics of marketing so they can experience more freedom and make an even bigger difference. So how do you do this out of your van?
However I feel like it. I just want to say, you said a couple times that I don't mess around, and I want to revisit that and just say I built my business in such a way that I have time to mess around. So I definitely do have lots of travel and lots of play and lots of exploring and adventures. And I think when we set our business up the right way, we can have that spaciousness and have that time, which is why being a full-time nomad makes it possible, because I have systems set up to support me to do that.
Yeah. Tell me about that journey. Did you come out of the womb like I'm a systems girl or a systems person?
I think I've always had a very engineering brain, and I like understanding how things work, and I like putting puzzles together. But it wasn't until really I started my business as a hypnotherapist and immediately started just geeking out on online marketing and trying to understand how people who don't know me could learn to know me and like me and trust me, and how I could create content that both adds value to people's lives and also sometimes invites them into my world. And as I started geeking out on that, there was a period of time where there was this dissonance of, I just want to build things. I just want to make content, but none of it is really landing. And it's not really aligning. The business I'm running is not really aligning with who I feel like I'm becoming. And I actually had a moment where I was ready to quit my business. And I asked my friend, Karen, there are great Karens in the world, I have to say. I asked Karen, would you just tell me what I'm good at? Because I clearly can't see my strengths myself. Like, would you tell me what the world actually needs from me? And she said, we need your help with that stuff. You have a capacity with creating content and writing copy and building these systems and using technology that most of us that are coaches and healers don't have figured out and don't want to figure out, because we want to keep doing just the healing work, that the magic trick that we've mastered, the modalities that we are in love with. And the words that came out of my mouth were, no one's going to pay me for that. That's the fun part. And if you ever hear yourself saying or thinking that, that's probably the thing you're meant to be doing. And we were at a workshop when we had this conversation. I had a chance the next day to give a talk. I had won a challenge purely through tenacity, not through making money as a speaker, but I had won a speaker challenge and I got to speak to part of the room. And I changed my talk overnight and made an offer for that, basically helping people develop their content and figure out how to leverage their message to be online, and hopefully through courses and programs beyond just one-on-one services. And I made that offer and I got 3 clients, which had been the first 3 clients in many months. So it was a turning point. It felt like a sign from the universe that I'm supposed to go this way now. And those 3 clients, single sessions led to packages, led to referrals. And that was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, that I made that shift, and it's just expanded and grown. So what happened over time is I was going hard into the technology and system development realm.
Pre-Karen?
And that consciousness part of me, the healer that had started a business as a hypnotherapist, was feeling underserving, I guess you could say. It was feeling left behind. And so it's been a process to synthesize those two. So that's why I say I bridge the world between the heart-centered healing and the tactics and strategy to grow a business, because I think both of those are absolutely required to actually level up and to get the success and to reach the people that we want to reach. Doing the technology and setting up the program and writing the copy is only part of it. Getting ourselves aligned in such a way that our people can even find us, that we take our invisibility cloaks off, that we broadcast our light into the world, that we're willing to receive the income and the clients that want to come to us in a big way. That is a key component in the growing of a business like this. So I now teach both. I brought in the healing back into my business to help people uncover those limiting beliefs and break through those upper limits so that they could do both.
So it's almost as if the systemization, the copy creation is a back door into, all right, let's look at your limiting beliefs.
Or people show up for both now, which is great. Yeah. Because I mean, anyone out there who is an entrepreneur who has tried to share something with the world, you may have noticed that even if you set it up perfectly and do it right, it doesn't always work. And sometimes that's because we don't believe it will work. Sometimes that's because there's a part of us that's afraid it will work. I think it was, I'm forgetting her name, Marianne Williamson, that said we're more afraid of our light than our darkness.
Yeah.
That we're actually terrified of success. We're terrified of outgrowing our family and friends and being too big and too potent and too powerful. And we have to get over that shit if we're actually going to make the difference that we're on this earth to make.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think is the biggest sticking point there you see from your clients? Like, what's the biggest, like, that rough
Usually with
edge?
my clients, they come in saying, I want to make this bigger thing happen. And I just don't know where to start because there's so much information on the internet. You've been on YouTube, there's thousands of people trying to teach you the thing they know how to do. And there's so many different ways to grow a business. There's so many different strategies that will work for certain people. And it's really easy to get lost in a sea of too many tools and too
Absolutely.
many techniques and too many different avenues to pay attention to. So a lot of my clients come to me overwhelmed with all the ideas that have been thrown at them and feeling like they're spinning their wheels, going in circles, just to figure out what their business actually needs, how to bring their message forth. So I don't teach one size fits all business. I ask a person what they're wanting to create. And then depending on what their strengths are, what their energetic brilliance is, we figure out the best way for their business to grow and for their projects to come to life and how to create those in such a way that they're duplicatable so that you run a program and it's not dead and you have to start a new one. You can recreate it and launch it and sell it another time. And we want to systemize that process. So it's really easy to keep mastering the craft of whatever that new program or course is that you've created.
And so you're a systems girl, and
Yes.
I hope that's okay that I say that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
way. Okay, cool. You're a systems girl. So someone rolls in and they're like, I have a vision. And what's your like process? Step one, we go.
Depends on the business again. So it depends on where the person is at. I will say the first tools that I recommend to every entrepreneur in this kind of coaching and healing leadership kind of space. If you don't have a scheduler and you don't have an email list, start there. A scheduler is an online scheduler. So people can take a link and book themselves on your calendar. If you've ever tried to make an appointment with someone and you've gone through 6 or 7 emails back and forth, trying to find a time that works for both of you. And then somebody has to figure out the Zoom link. Then somebody has to add it to the calendar. And all of that could be done in one click of a link. That is the first time-saving tool any entrepreneur or anyone who's working outside of, a regular 9-to-5 job. That online scheduler, if you need to make appointments with someone, that's the first thing that's going to save you a ton of time. You should not be responding and replying to 5 emails just to set one appointment.
It's ludicrous, right?
It's ludicrous. And then the email list, beginning to build your audience. People think email marketing is dead. Email marketing, the old way it used to be done, is definitely dead. People do not want 30 blasts hard selling them on something that they may or may not want. That's gone. Okay. But there are ways to use your email list to actually build a relationship with people. And if anybody was around, we'll say mid-October in 2021, Facebook and Instagram went down for half a day. Nobody could get in. Nobody could see anything new. If you were building a marketing presence on those platforms, that was probably a scary day for you because nobody could see what you were doing and you couldn't reach out to anyone. And you might notice that could happen anytime. Those platforms are not set in stone. They could die. Your account could be closed for no reason. It's really hard to get a hold of anyone. So building an audience on your own system, your own email list, where you're actually finding people who want to be in your inner circle and having a chance to connect directly with them. Yes, not everyone will open every email. Yes, not everyone will want to buy your stuff. But you have an opportunity there to actually cultivate a connection with your people in a way that you don't on social media. So building an email list and figuring out how to connect with them is the next one. And one of the things I usually put on my clients, priority list is to find ways to connect with those people when you're not selling. So a lot of people are like, okay, I have a list, but I'm not growing my list. And I'm not really connecting with them unless I'm having something to invite them to. Well, there's this energetic, I call it an energetic bank account that we have with each individual that's on our list. And if we're just asking and inviting and making calls to action and asking people to register and click, after a while, it feels pretty slimy. It's like, stop asking me for stuff. I don't want it. I don't know you. I don't care. and it feels like you're taking. So the antidote to that is to make deposits in that energetic bank account by delivering actual value. And that could be your podcast, that could be videos you've put on YouTube, that could be just a note of like, here's what I'm thinking about, here's a story about something that happened to me and what I learned from it. I just want to share that with you. Hope you have a great day. Adding little value contribution nuggets like that makes the energetic bank account feel better when you're ready to go and make a withdrawal, so to speak, ask people to click or to register or to show up to something.
Can I ask you a question? And
yeah.
I can nuance within that. Because you were talking to me, we had a conversation and you said, I was like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to increase my email rate to my list. And you're like, well, you do a podcast episode every day, you could affect, and I can't remember how you said it. You said you could do like you could say, here's this email, here's this podcast episode that I did. Here's the main gist of it. Here's the highlight. Listen for the rest. Is that kind of what you said?
Totally. Yeah.
Go.
Is both. I mean, because you're asking them to come over and click it, in some ways it could be seen as an ask. Yes. But because it's free and you're not asking them to register or give you any information, it is kind of just a value add. The reason I said put the little nugget, the juicy synopsis or whatever in there in the email, some of your audience wants to read stuff. Some of your audience wants to listen to stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of your audience wants to watch stuff. So giving them the option of receiving your juicy nugget of value in a way that works for them is how you kind of serve the whole people.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. So a couple of things come to mind. And one is, it's easy to start building an email list, saying it, and the reality of one day at a time, starting to build that email list are two different things. But I'm also intrigued, so you're obviously building your list pre-Karen, right? Pre-good Karen.
Yeah.
You're building your list, but it's more focused on hypnotherapy, NLP, things like that, more of the healing modality. Mm-hmm. You have the epiphany with Karen, your friend. What was your friend's name? Who was like, hey, speak at my thing. Do you remember his name or her name?
The place where I had the speaking opportunity. That was called Thrive Academy, which is an amazing business growth thing for people who are early on in their business and want to find their niche and learn how to find clients.
Cool. And so was it they're online? Yes. So was it an opportunity to present online?
No, it was years ago. So it was in person at a conference.
Hence you were looking for the table rush and it worked.
It did. Yeah.
We'll tie that in. So you are going to, said you had,
you're asking, how do I interact with my list when I'm changing my niche?
Yeah. Well, hold. So before I'm interested, what was your presentation? You said I changed it overnight, right? So was that easy or sticky, or did it come quick, or was it?
I was at a speaking conference where they were teaching me how to be a good speaker and make an offer. So I was using their template and their framework to rewrite my speech. So my speech beforehand was more, I forget, I was changing my niche a lot that first couple years or that first few months in Thrive Academy, but it was something like finding your purpose, which I had noticed over a few months. Nobody actually wants to put down money to find their purpose. At least they didn't want to with me. It was a little bit too vague and not really like hitting on a true pain point, which is, what do you actually want to be? Or how do you actually want to, usually the niches that work very directly speak to being, finding more wealth, being healthier or feeling more beautiful, or healing or transforming your relationships. So being in a purpose niche, I wasn't quite nailing one of those directions. And that's why nobody was really showing up. But when you're talking about growing a business, that's directly related to increasing my financial abundance. And so people are more likely to invest in working in something like that.
Let me ask you a question. So you're pre that moment, as you're taking classes to learn how to present, which I love. I think that's such a cool thing. I did not know that about you. So you're taking that to be more effective.
At the beginning of my business, I was learning whatever the hell I could to help me. Yeah.
So good. I think it's so powerful. I think
Yeah. It's important too to invest in mentorship of people who know how to do what you want to do is a really like high level way to go about anything. If you don't know
yeah,
how to do something, learning it from somebody who really does know how to do it is a fast track to figuring it out.
so good. And I think, that's been a hard lesson for me over my life. People will say invest in yourself, and that can be a very ambiguous term, but that is clearly an actionable way to invest in yourself, right? Like
Yeah,
find that mentor.
monetarily investing in mentorship and also investing time in learning something new. That could look like
Mm.
reading a book and actually trying to implement what it tells you. Yeah.
So is this outside of Thrive? So Thrive and you taking these classes are two different things.
I was taking many different paths. Thrive was one of the big ones at the beginning of my business.
Okay. And is Thrive, and I'm sorry to get granular on you, but are you learning how to speak on stage through Thrive and you
I,
win one of their
I
little
was, yeah,
awards and
in
they're like, great,
2015, 2016.
you get the opportunity to present because you are doing a good job.
Yeah. I won their
Fantastic.
game.
You won their game. Perfect. So you have the epiphany moment, and before your headline or your thesis of your talk is literally, I'll help you find your purpose.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
And then it became, do you remember fairly specifically what it
It became,
became?
I'll help you get your business online, basically.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
And that's
appreciate
evolved a lot since then, too, to be more
it.
specific.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So what to go back to what we were talking
Yes.
about, which is
Thank
you're
you.
growing an email list, you've got this audience of people who want to hear a certain kind of thing from you. I had to pivot to say, this is who I'm talking to now, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm coming to. And this is a great email for anyone who changes in directions. And I mean, I had changed directions enough times that year that some people on my list got a number of these emails. But you basically want to say, hey, I'm so and so. I'm here. You've been hearing from me, or maybe you haven't been. And I am moving in a new direction. And I want to give you the chance to stay or go. Are you down to hear from me about these kinds of things? This is kind of stuff I'm going to be sharing with you and inviting you to and talking about. And if you want to hear about that, no action necessary. If you think you'd rather not hear about from me or about that at all or from me at all anymore, this is your invitation to unsubscribe, or you can hit reply and I will unsubscribe you for you. And that's really generous because it's saying, hey, here's what we're doing. And are you in or are you out? And if you're out, no hard feelings. And if you're in, let's go. So you can do it in a really connected way. And usually the people who stick around are now probably less. Anytime you lose subscribers, it's actually a good thing because you've now condensed your list to being more passionate about you, more
Yeah.
connected, more happy to hear from you. Anybody who leaves is taking themselves out of it. And so you now have got a more potent connection with your list. And so that, I mean, part of those years, I was trying to figure out how to build my list in the first place. And I had to recreate new strategies and try different things, and different things work. But people are generally less inclined to just put their email in a box for no reason. They're more likely, same with the energetic bank account idea, they're more likely to put their name and email in a box if they are going to get something that they want. So people don't really want a newsletter. People don't really want to simply stay connected, although sometimes they will if they think you're awesome, especially if you have a podcast, they've been connecting with you. They want to know what else is out there.
Okay.
But giving them a reason. So some kind of a free gift, some kind of a video series, some sort of a tool for them to receive more magic only available through that portal. They'll come through the portal to get the thing.
So what are you doing today? What's your little
Yeah. So I've got tons of free gifts. Anytime you buy a program or a course, of course, you end up on my email list.
Yeah.
And then I've got a free gift called the Money Machine Blueprint, which is sort of the framework of how email lists work and tells you how to make a free gift and stuff like that. The best free gift or lead magnet that I've ever created, which I had to create a course to teach people how to do it because it works so well, is a quiz. I call it a client attracting quiz. And my quiz is on my website. It's what level of thought leader are you? And it lets people know of the 5 stages that I created this framework with archetypes from the major arcana of the tarot. are you the fool? Are you the magician? Are you the high priestess, the empress, or the hierophant? And depending on where you land on that, what's the invitation to start growing into the next phase? So people get this beautiful 16-page PDF all written up about how where they're at right now is perfect, how it's really a beautiful part of the phases of growing a business and becoming a thought leader, and how to overcome their inner arch nemesis to begin expanding into the next level. So that quiz has gone through 3 or 4 different, maybe 5 different iterations over the years. But after I saw it start really working, I started running a $5 a day Facebook ad to it, and it grew my list to like 10,000 after a year or 2.
That is amazing. $5
So
a day.
I was getting 70 to 100 leads every single week just by running a small ad to my quiz. And that was the biggest list growth thing ever. And I had peers of mine, colleagues of mine that I've done other projects with, tell me I was a damn fool for not teaching people how to do what I did with that. And so I created a course to do that.
Tell me the name of the course again.
Quiz Mastery.
And it's on your, they can go to, I've got it over here. Is it on your, where to go? Why, what's your website again?
Wildheartsriseup.com.
Yes, wildheartsriseup.com. I'm looking over here. Anybody wondering what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
And say it again, because I'm thinking we definitely want people to hear that again so they can
Wild Hearts with an S, riseup.com. And if you go to offerings and then programs, you'll find it called Quiz Mastery.
Cool. And
so on the homepage, you'll see the quiz if you want to take it and see how you like it. It's 9 questions. It's really fun.
Nice. And it's fun. How fun.
It's fun
and educational.
That's the thing, is people love to interact with a quiz because it's a game, and we've been playing games for thousands of years. People want to be entertained. They want to be asked questions about themselves. And through the process of answering those questions, they're already learning something about themselves. So there's this introspection, this self-awareness, and this gamified experience that is just more fun than other free gifts.
It's beautiful. Question on the inspiration to say, I'm changing directions. This is it. If you want to hear about it, fantastic. You don't have to do anything. Just enjoy, learn, whatever. Or unsubscribe. Was that taught to you, or was that inspiration or combination?
No, that I just I don't think I learned that from anyone.
Just intuitive at this point, trial and error. You're like people want to know this. They don't just.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wanted to feel authentic in sending them a different kind of content. So I wanted to let them know that things were changing. New stuff was going to be coming.
And then the quiz thing, was that a little combination inspiration you'd heard about?
That was from a book called The Ask Method by Ryan Levesque, who really designed that whole process from a lot of research in human psychology and stuff like that. So he came up with a system, and I just kind of reverse engineered what I learned from him.
Fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody who's listening, watching is like, oh, this is awesome. They could reach out to you and you would be like, hey, I'll walk you through this. Let's get I'll teach you even how to use the online calendar.
Yeah.
And let's start building your list. And here's a quiz. And you'd be like, all right, you would dig in and be like, all right, what kind of quiz are we going to make for you? Like if I called you, you'd be like, all right, Misha, what do you like? What are you passionate about? Let's get the quiz together. You could help somebody with that.
Yes, I do. I have the Quiz Mastery program is self-guided. Sometimes I also run it live with Q&A calls. And then I also have done for you services for quizzes where people can come to me and have the idea, and then I go and build the whole thing for them.
And you travel around in a van, which I'm looking at, which is incredible. It's all right, great. That's fantastic. Thank you. All right. So
you just gave me a good idea. I've been meaning to for a long time. I have a template for how to set up your scheduler so you don't miss any steps. I'm going to put that as a free gift on my website too. So if people need help getting the scheduler thing figured out, I'll have that template up there soon.
Love it. That is a great gift. I'll jump in there and take advantage. I'm good at using the tool, but I don't have it. I've told you this myself. I'm like, I love the way you have all your little intricacies within it. Cool. So, all right. What if somebody's what's the next level? So that's like bare bones basic, get started. Like what's next?
The next level usually is people. I sort of work with people who have been seeing clients for a while. So Thrive Academy is an amazing resource for somebody who's just getting started and needs to sort of figure out who their niche is, start figuring out how to attract clients, how to do free consults, how to start really getting clear on who your people are and how exactly you serve them. Once people are clear on that, there's usually a desire, there's often a desire to move from one-on-one services to groups and online courses. So I'm really the best resource. Well, I'm the best resource. That sounds really cocky, but I am a great resource for people who want to move from one-on-one to groups, and they already know who their clients are one-on-one, and they're ready to systemize their process or to develop an offering so that people who can't afford their one-on-one work have somewhere to go, or people who would prefer to be in a community setting learning the stuff from them have somewhere to go, and how to create that process so that it's easy and so that it's not a pain in the ass to run, so that it's easy to sell it. People can just click a button and take it. How to start writing copy so that you can actually sell this to your email list, or so you can post about it confidently. So it's the copy and the content creation and the technology to just make it easier to broadcast your message. And I also work with people who are just trying to grow their one-on-one practice. Like that's definitely still in my wheelhouse. And it takes some showing up. It takes some broadcasting. It takes some marketing. And marketing is kind of a dirty word in the heart-centered healer space. But the truth is, marketing is where we simply allow our light to shine more broadly out into the world so our people can see it and find their way to us. And that's an important thing to do, because I think more people on this planet could use support. So we need the healers to go big now.
It's a beautiful way you said that. Thank you for that. And that's a rough edge for a lot of that healer mentality space, right? Or I don't know if modality is a better word. I think there's a myth in there that says, if I have this tool, if I have this modality, if I have this capacity for healing and helping, then I should give it away for free. And I shouldn't be too big about it, because that won't be humble. So there's a lot of, like I said, limiting beliefs, and there's a lot of programming inside of us that says, stay quiet, stay small, just do it on the side. And I think that is innately serving less people. And if you're on this earth to be a healer, to be a leader, to be a guide, guiding people to greater in their lives, then how dare you not go do that in as big of a way as you possibly can, so more people can receive it. And to think it's a contribution in some way to not charge for your services because people can't afford you. People get more healing out of things that they have invested in energetically. And the biggest way we energetically invest in things on this plane is monetarily. Yeah.
And if you are doing your work, your healing for free, you have to work some other job in order to make a living. So you're doing less of that healing work. And that does not make sense to me.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Unless you're independently wealthy, and then do whatever you want to do. Hopefully do more healing work.
Right? Why not?
Yeah.
Do it for free then. Donation based, whatever you want.
Yeah. And I'm not shaming or making wrong anybody. Everybody's on their own path. I just had a client this week who had a huge breakthrough in finally pricing her like private retreats that she hosts on her property that she's been doing for many, many years, and severely undercharging. And she finally had the realization that she was doing one this past weekend, and it wasn't enough compensation for the energetic thing she was delivering for this couple on her property. And she finally upped her rates. And I was like very pleased that she came to that realization, because you think, I see you, I see the value you're delivering, and it is worth more than you're saying it's worth. And would you be willing to be supported by your work in a bigger way, and allow the people coming to you to be supported by your work in a bigger way, because they've energetically shown up for it by paying what it's worth? Yeah. So I'm on that side of the fence, but everybody gets to do what they want, and then choose to evolve.
No right or wrong. Like if you're inspired to one or the other, own it, go with it. Right. Yeah. Like I think, so would you say your like hearts when you like your avatar, right? The avatar is a thing that's bantered around a lot, or your ideal client, or how do you say it in what you're doing?
My ideal client is a spiritual woman entrepreneur who wants to make a bigger difference, who's
Mm.
ready to reach more people, and who wants to do that with more freedom and more light and aliveness than they thought that it was possible.
How do you feel about the people that are in that space doing what they're doing, trying to grow, like you're encouraging them to grow, helping them grow, supporting them to grow, clearly inspiring them to grow? Um, what about using terms in that space of heart centered? Uh, like, is that a
Yeah,
legit term?
I
Because
use
that's
the term heart centered. Yeah.
okay.
My Your Money Machine is one of my online courses, which is all about list creation and how to set that up. I think I'm going to rename it something like email marketing magic or something like that.
Yeah,
But it's
it's a good one.
marketing is to the heart centered warrior goddess entrepreneurs,
Mm.
something like that.
What do
Yeah,
you
I use heart
call?
centered a lot too.
Yeah, what do you call on the man's side of that? Or there isn't a lot of men doing that, or what do you like? Go ahead.
I mean, I think spiritual men is clear. I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time marketing to men. I've had clients who are men, but I don't cater my marketing to men because I think there's already a lot of business tools and support out there for men.
Mm. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder too sometimes if like the like the woman's space is more or that feminine energy, I guess, is another term that we would use, right? It's like it seems to be more robust. Obviously, feminine energy is going to be females who are embracing it more. Is that, would you say, looking at market size, those are a lot
I
more
don't
women?
know about market size or not. I think more so than looking at the market, it's important to look at who you are and what you're here to do. And
Mm.
I tend to resonate more with helping women leaders rise up.
No, for sure. And I'm not trying to pigeonhole you and say you
Yeah.
strategically went after that. I'm asking an honest question of, you're in the space, you're helping healers, you have men clients. I'm just curious of
Yeah.
your
I think
opinion.
a lot of men in general are more inclined to a different style of marketing than I produce,
Yeah.
which is a little bit more I don't want to make broad generalizations like this, but like click funnels marketing is more geared towards men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I was just interesting as I'm
Yeah.
in.
Well, because there are a lot of young men out there who are doing marketing successfully, and I don't really need to compete with them when I'm serving slightly different audience.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And they
And
do
again,
it
I'm
well.
not trying to, what's that?
And they do it well.
And then do it well. Absolutely. And if your preference is to work with females, great, right? Like, I think the worst thing to do is go, well, I really like working with men, but it's the female market's bigger. So I'm going to go, well, that's for me and the way I do things, it could be a futile path, right?
Right.
Um,
It has to be something that you are passionate about. And
yeah.
that's true about any creative project, I think. And there are a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of women and men in the personal development space. And I think that the most important thing to pay attention to is who are you and how will your people resonate with you and how do you most want to serve them?
Yeah.
And then carve your niche out of that.
Yeah. I love that.
Usually the best niche we land on is us a little while ago,
Yeah.
us two steps before now.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's why we're able to help people because we're a few steps ahead of them on the same path.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Tell me, so you find somebody rolls in and they're like, they have a robust one-on-one practice, and they're like, all right, I'm ready to create some evergreen courses. That's another term that's thrown around, evergreen, or go one to many, start doing group things. Like, what are your steps to get people on that path?
I mean, usually it's, how much they have created already,
Mm.
figuring out what the best platform is that they want to do that on. If you're selling evergreen courses or if you're wanting to streamline selling group programs, then having some sort of a sales page to checkout cart to accessing a membership site software is going to be a great tool to create more ease with that. There are free ways to do it through, PayPal link and then Google Drive folder. And then there are more robust platforms like Kajabi and Kartra and Teachable and Thinkific, and Podia is a cheaper one. On my website, there's a resources tab, which has all the softwares that I recommend for these different levels of things.
Yeah.
I like Kajabi, and I also think Kartra is very comparable in the offerings that it has right now.
Mm.
Yeah, but those are the higher level, and for people who are maybe just starting out or who don't want to invest a lot in their first course or program because they don't know if it's going to work yet, or because they're not sure that's the direction they really fully want to be moving in, there are cheaper options too.
Cool.
Yeah. And then once we have the platform, we start digging into the copywriting and what goes on the sales page. How are we going to welcome people and invite them in? How are we going to keep them engaged over the program? And what do they need to know to show up and get it all done? And starting to build out the framework of how the user experience will be and what all the pieces of the puzzle that need to get created, and then helping people put those pieces of the puzzle together.
Nice.
Yeah.
And depending on how committed someone is to that process, I imagine, is how
eager they are to create it and how quickly they set a deadline, like how soon they want to launch. Like I have one client right now who we've been working together for 6 or so months, and she hasn't really set a launch date yet because she's still working on the program and wants to figure it out and make it perfect. And I have another client who we're working through like the third thing in 2 months because she just wants to get stuff out.
Yeah,
it really depends on the person and how ripe the idea is.
Yeah. And I suppose how they like to, well, I guess it is going to be a matter of trying until you find how to connect your message with your.
And you will find that so much faster if you try. One thing I like to remind people of is you cannot easily cognate your way to clarity. But if you start testing and trying and exploring and actually putting things out in the world, you'll get clear a lot faster.
This is a random question, but how do you have success selling your tarot cards?
I have sold about 300 decks, but I would say 150 of those were when I launched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When did you launch?
I did an Indiegogo campaign to fund the initial printing of 500 decks.
Yeah.
And that was successful. And then I haven't pushed it a whole lot since then, but the people who love the deck post about it on Instagram and share about it a lot. And I have a friend who's running a whole group program where he's using my deck as the topic for each of his classes. He pulls a card and then teaches about that energetic thing. And then, one of my friends just texted me today that she gave another one of my deck away. So she buys them in 5 packs now.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So there's some people who are really sharing it on my behalf. And then there's been a few podcast episodes where I just talk about my deck, and that's helped too.
Yeah, cool. When a previous conversation we had, I wrote down some notes. Van broke down, reclaim your power, coincidence, shifted relationship with your father. You have a really sort of great,
one of my bitch slaps from the universe.
Yeah, bitch slaps of the universe. Why don't you tell me about that?
I bought my van 3.5, almost 4 years ago. And I started traveling it before I built it out. So it actually took me about 2.5 years to finish the build inside because I didn't want to stay in one place and finish building it. I would just sort of drive to Colorado and build the bed, and drive to Minnesota and put the solar panels on, and drive to North Carolina and figure out the wiring of the solar panels. And so I was building it as I traveled around the country and did workshops and attended conferences and had speaking gigs, and also just traveled to see friends and family. And on that first trip, right after I left Oregon, where my mom lives, I was about 1,000 miles in and my turbo went out. I I didn't know it was a turbo yet. They tried to fix the resonator. I made it another 1,200 miles. And what's interesting is the second time it went out, I was listening to this book called Busting Loose from the Money Game. And if you look, you have it?
I do. I have it and I need to read it. Someone gave it
definitely
to me.
Read it.
It's on my bookshelf. What's that?
Read it. Yes.
Okay,
and read
cool.
it with caution after I tell you this story. So there's a process in that book. Basically, it's telling you how to step out of the matrix and recognize you're the infinite being and take your power back from all the trauma and drama of this reality. And it tells you when you do this process, it's very likely that life or this reality or the universe is going to hand you an opportunity to really walk your talk with this stuff. It's going to give you something to try and convince you that you are human and you are limited and this reality is real and that you're a victim of it. And so I'm listening to that process and he's basically telling me that, and boom, my turbo goes out again, or my van, giant diesel van goes into limp mode. And I'm on the highway and I'm just barely in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I limp off the highway. I make it over a little crest and coast down to where I see there's a shop.
Oh my God.
And part of me is like, I'm doomed. I'm stranded. This is terrible. What am I going to do? And another part of me is like, wow, that happened real fast. So long story short, it's like $5,500 to fix the van. I don't have it. My mother, who I would normally borrow money from in a crisis, is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on a ship, teaching her screenwriting class on a cruise crossing the Atlantic, unreachable. My father, who I had never asked for money for before, who is not a financial supportive person historically in my life, I call him just to let him know where I'm at and that I'm stranded and that I'm trying to figure this out. And he ends up being able to like PayPal me money from a credit card to make it possible for them to start the repairs. And so that's underway. And I have this epiphany of like, oh, I could email my list. My list was really small back then, but it was not tiny. And so this is an opportunity. I need money right now. Why don't I put a flash sale out to my audience and see what happens? And so I sent an email, and within a few days, a couple of people had bought a half price VIP day with me so that we could get a lot of work done on their business. So those two things made it possible for me to get back on the road. I ended up having an awesome few days in Santa Fe, going to 10,000 Waves, going to Meow Wolf, which is why I was passing through Santa Fe in the first place. Yeah. And my relationship with my dad completely changed. I now saw him as somebody who could support me in some way. And that was a shift. Our relationship has been totally different since then. We're much closer and much, I don't know, I feel like more seen and held by him in a way that I didn't before that. And I also got to know that, again, my email list is an amazing resource that, especially when I need to generate money really fast, it's there and I can do that. And that's the whole point of having an email list and nurturing your audience, is so that when you need to, you can press the button and find more, hopefully create more income right then. And in the process, this big, scary upset of my van is broken and it's new, and I thought I was doing this big adventure and now I'm screwed. And it's like, no, wait, I took my power back from that. Not only did I get these beautiful silver lining gifts, but I got my van fixed and back on the road, and I am the infinite being creating my reality. Look at that. So it was a huge, big lesson, which looked like, to an outsider, a bitch slap from the universe, but it ended up being a great thing.
Yeah. Like what was a heavy, potentially gnarly time, and probably very stressful in the moment.
Very scary in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. To just new blossoming relationship with father, or new perspective for you, and an opportunity for him to maybe do what he hadn't done before in a new way or whatever. And he took advantage, right? Like, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
To seize that opportunity for your dad. God bless him. Right.
Yeah, totally.
And then, I think you told me, if you don't mind me saying, how big your list was at that time. Is that all right?
It was like 600 or something.
Yeah. So what was the offer that you made them? Do you remember? And is this,
it was like a half price VIP day. So at that time, my VIP days were like 2,500, I think.
Mhm.
And so I was selling an 8-hour package basically for $12.50,
And
which
this
was,
is like, this is post Karen. So a few years post Karen.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're at this point, like
I had
in
started to make a name for myself in the niche
yeah.
that I was in. And there were enough people on my list that were waiting for a cheaper opportunity to work with me. And so they took advantage of that. And
That's
I don't
beautiful.
even do VIP days anymore, but if I did, they would be more than that for sure.
That's amazing. Tell me, how do you nurture that moment? Because I think it's so beautiful and poignant, and to see your father in a new light. And you know, I have kids, and so there was when they were born, I'm like, oh, I knew appreciation for mom and dad, right? Oh, my kids are now, smelly, 10-year-olds, new appreciation for my parents, right? Whatever. This moment for you, how quickly are you like, that was a powerful moment? Or was this like a year later, or in the moment, are you like, oh my gosh?
No, yeah, I sobbed a lot when that happened because in my story in my head was that my dad doesn't have my back in that way, that my dad is more of a brother, uncle figure than like a father who can support me. So, yeah, it was really big in the moment and I recognized it right away. It
That's
was
awesome.
after the fact, I think, that I noticed my energy toward him had shifted too over time in the times that we've hung out since then.
Mm. Do you try to nurture that in a different way now? Like, I
I
mean,
think I'm more forgiving
purposefully?
of him as a person, more in
Mm.
allowance of him. I mean, I've also undergone another however many years of personal development work and healing on my own to help that
Yeah.
relationship. I won't say it
Yeah.
was all from that moment.
No,
But
sure.
yeah, he's grown up more in the last few years too, being in his mid 70s. Our
Some of it
relationship
takes a
continues to
while.
evolve. It was
What's
hard
that?
and like challenging, especially when I was younger, and it has become more beautiful and better over time. And that was
Mm.
definitely a turning point for us.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, I can't let this one little thing that you said go by either. Mom was on a cruise ship screenwriting class. What is
Yeah,
that?
my mom
What I
is a
heard you say?
wildly successful screenwriter. She's had a like 40 plus year success as a writer. And she used to teach screenwriting at UCLA Film School. And she moved to Oregon when I was like 7. So that was like 28 years ago. So she's been teaching at PSU and out of her living room in Portland, Oregon for the last 28 years or so. And about 12 or 13 years ago, she decided to start doing it as a retreat. So she always takes a transatlantic cruise liner, and there's always at least 6 or 7 days at sea before you get to Europe. And people write and take her class in the morning and write all afternoon on the at sea days. And then everybody goes and frolics around Europe on the days that they're in port. Yeah, it's a pretty awesome retreat, especially for anybody who wants to be a writer. And if you decide to go on that retreat, tell her I sent you. And
Yes.
I've gone on it 5 or 6 times myself, and I always get a lot of writing done.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is amazing.
That quiz started on the ship, or at least got a lot of creation done. The quiz that I made, a lot of that writing happened on the ship. And when I was in my 20s, I was writing a novel. A ton of that novel got written on the ship. And last 2 years ago, I started writing a book about my life as an entrepreneur. And a lot of that got written on the ship too. It's a really beautiful way to get a lot of writing done because you don't have to cook anything, you don't have to go anywhere. There's nothing to do on a cruise ship that's actually fun. So you're sort of forced to sit there and get things done.
And what a great conduit your mother sounds like she is. And then also just being in the space with others too, we're like
Yeah.
minded, and you're just,
Collective consciousness of
yeah,
creation.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful. What do you think? Tell me the top three things you've learned from your mother over the
Oh,
years.
God. I've learned everything from my mother. I mean, I am most grateful for getting to witness her living a creative life successfully, that she was never someone to tell me I should get a real job or I should pigeonhole myself into something that wasn't for me. She has been my biggest champion and supporter of living a very creative and unconforming lifestyle,
Yeah.
which I'm sure was harder when I was younger and more crazy than the van life is really a stable life for me compared to who I used to be.
That's amazing.
But yeah,
That's
and as a
progress.
writer, I mean, I know so much about story crafting and about the process of letting a project come to life because of her. And I'm most grateful for the way she sees the world. I was raised believing in the law of attraction, believing in many lives, and believing in like a higher consciousness than religion would give me a view of. And so I'm really grateful for the spiritual understanding that I was raised with. And I think that's shaped me into a lot of the person that I've become because I had those as answers when I was asking questions as a kid.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Any tension points with you and your mom over the years?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we have to rebel against something. It's so much more confusing when you're rebelling against just too much love. But yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God, that's amazing. Go
yeah,
ahead.
she also remarried when I was 6. She married a very verbally abusive alcoholic who was her high school sweetheart. So she didn't see it at first. So a lot of my resistance with my mom was just resenting her for bringing that into our lives. But as I got wiser, I recognized that there was a part of me that chose that as my path so that I could rise from that. And that we were all, in my opinion, we all chose that dynamic coming in so that we could learn what we needed to learn from it, which is pretty far out for some people who have been through trauma to try and recognize like, oh, I chose this. But there's been a lot of freedom in taking responsibility for that part of my life, having gone like that and then getting to choose to evolve from it. And so I stopped blaming her for that being a hard childhood. Yeah.
Do you remember when that shift started taking place?
Yeah. I was like 28, 29.
And so
when my business started is when I started seriously doing a lot of personal development work and healing and taking my power back and giving up blaming other people for my life. And that was part of that process.
What was your entree into that? Was it like Tony Robbins or was it like,
I forget, but I've been to so many conferences and workshops and read hundreds of personal development books on healing and transformation. So it was a process of all of that.
Just quick question, just for fun, like somebody who's in that space, right? And we all come to that point, I believe. Well, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but I have definitely come to those points of got to find forgiveness, got to take accountability, right? And that's sort of some of those bitch slap moments. And I think there's a difference between reading and then applying, right? So I can keep reading about the things that you're talking about, reading these books, going to these conferences, but like what you know what I mean? Like some people get
some of the
stuck
tools that have worked best for me. The Work by Byron Katie, which is books that I've read. Loving What Is a great book by Byron Katie, which covers the work. I had a lot of personal development and growth stuff happen at Thrive Academy, which is a business training program, but there's a lot of transformational development that comes in there. Access Consciousness is a entire modality school of thought that has dramatically changed my life and helped me see my point of view and question it on a regular basis. That most of the big shifts in my energetic and like emotional body life space has happened through Access Consciousness. And I won't go into what that is because it's so hard to define and it is limitless. But if the words Access Consciousness resonate with you at all, I highly recommend looking it up, watching YouTubes about it, reading some books. Dane Here wrote a great book called Being You, Changing the World, which is about Access Consciousness. And then
quick side note, I did a thing called Tools for a Good Life Summit where I brought in all these different modalities, and I reached out I wanted Dane. I was like, I want Dane to be my energy healer guy, but whatever. He was like,
he's a busy
whatever
guy.
Yeah. Anyway, but go on. So
yeah, totally. NLP is a lot of great healing and tools, and hypnotherapy was hugely transformational for me too. I think the main thing is if you're aware that you could be happier, that your life could be greater, that your relationships could be more deep or connected or communicative, you are the only one who can change any of that. And so when you start to recognize that if your life is hard and struggling and you're willing to take responsibility and be at cause for that changing, then you become the dowsing rod for the tools you're meant to use to get to where you want to go. But staying in the stuck and staying in the story and staying in the woe is me, everything's wrong, is just a continuation of the same wrongness on and on and on. And if you start to say, okay, I'm willing to take charge now, I'm willing to choose to change this, I'm willing to be aware of whatever I need to be aware of to make my life better or greater or happier or more whole, or stop being broke and have money now, whatever that looks like, you will begin dowsing for and discovering the tools that will work for you. And so I can rattle off all the best books that I've read, but if you start asking yourself what you want to try, is it going to be a book? Is it going to be a workshop? Is it going to be that podcast host that you've been listening to who just resonates with you so much? Like, go and try it. Be willing to ask, be willing to reach out, be willing to read the book and see how that helps. For me, being someone who writes every day, I journal every morning and every evening. That's a huge part of my mental health and personal development work, is just dropping everything that's on my mind onto a page, asking for guidance, writing what I'm grateful for, doing whatever magic tricks are in my book right now, and making that a regular twice a day practice, once a day if I'm really busy, but every morning before I get out of bed and every night before I go to sleep. That's what I do.
Thank you for that. I am a big believer in that too. I'm very, sometimes at night I have a hard time writing, but my life, the perspective, the richness, the appreciation, the sometimes towards the end of the day, some of the egoic hiccups can carry weight. And so for example, yesterday, lots of, you interviewed me for your podcast, which was so much fun. Thank you for that. And then I got to be on another podcast and I got to do another thing. And so my mind can sometimes go into the loop of, and it did yesterday, it can miss the 99% amazingness, and I can latch on to be like, oh, did I say that? That might not have been right or something. I don't know if you ever have any of that, but to like journal that at the end of the night and get perspective on it and be like, no, it's okay. It's so powerful. Anyway, just to back up what you said there. And then I have two more things to say, and then we can end. And I'm probably going to turn this into 2 episodes, the business one and the big slap one, super fun. So thank you.
Yeah.
I love talking to you. I love talking to you. I think it's great. Father. So outside of the moment of he is there to support me, that beautiful moment for you, what are some top lessons from your father, given the tumultuous nature of the relationship?
I mean, my dad is a very fun and fun-loving person. So I think the desire to laugh and the willingness to laugh and be silly and not be too scared to talk to strangers. I mean, a lot of that, like, fearlessness, shamelessness kind of vibe I learned from my dad. And I mean, my dad, a lot of my mom's really smart and she's really good at puzzles, but my dad and I have done so many projects, like building a trailer and like fixing a bike and like so many like hands-on crafting things, that I think my confidence in being able to build things and actually make stuff, I think that a lot of that came from getting to make stuff and be in that creative space with my dad a lot. So I'm really grateful for that engineering, figure it out, fix a problem kind of stuff that I learned from my dad.
Yeah, that probably translates to obviously into the van life, right? You have the willingness or the capacity. Maybe that was there already, but you're like, yeah, it's no problem. Get a
Oh
van.
yeah, and my dad has helped me with a lot of things in the van too.
Yeah.
He always says, "Don't finish it before you get back." Like,
Yeah.
okay, no promises, but I don't think the van will ever be done. There will always be more.
Always something. And
it
then
was
also,
pretty done the last time I went and saw him, and we found things to fix anyway.
good.
Yeah.
I think clearly like the bringing the engineering side, so you can take your mom's creative capacity for words and stuff like that, and then dad's engineering, or however you said that, build things, and you get bam, quiz.
Yeah. Well, and lots of things I've created. Yeah. And I both of my parents have sort of I would say an alternative version of reality. Like my dad is very into non-duality, and we have lots of deep cosmic conversations about that. And my mom's more on the spirituality. I wouldn't say necessarily pagan, but like consciousness and spirit realm stuff. And so the combination of those two have given me a really unique worldview, I think.
It's amazing. Again, I love talking to you, and I always learn so much when I talk to you. So I have no doubt that the audience listening and perhaps watching, if I've managed to get the systems in line to get it up on a YouTube channel, are learning something too. I am struck the few times that I talked to you yesterday when we had our interview at the end, and I think we were done talking, but you basically said, I'm amazing. You said, me, Molly, am amazing. And I thought it was so beautiful because the way you said it was so there was no arrogance in it. There was no, it's stripped of ego. That's the way it felt to me. So talk to me about that. Like that I'm allowed to be amazing.
I don't see myself as more amazing than anyone else. I think everyone is amazing, but I'm willing to own that I am too. I don't remember saying that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. No, maybe I don't know. I was pretty sure you said it. I was like, because
I think when it's said from a place of I'm more amazing than other people, or that I think I'm better than anyone else, that's when arrogance comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love how you frame that, because in the moment that you said that, I was like, oh my God, I am amazing too.
You are amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
And I love that. No more, not from an arrogant place, but let the amazingness shine. So
yes. And everyone out there listening, you're amazing too.
Yes. Like dive in, be amazing. Right. Molly, thank you so much. It's been beautiful. So much fun. I cannot wait to see if and when we get to chat again, whatever that looks like. And I'm going to hit stop, and we will say goodbye offline.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.